Captain Dongwu stared at the screens in his ship's control room. The numbers made no sense. 12,000 people lived on Kepler Station yesterday. Today the sensors showed 0 life signs. His hands shook as he guided his ship closer to the massive research station. Kepler Station was humanity's pride. Scientists from Earth worked there, studying alien life and trying to make friends with other species in the galaxy. His sister So Young was one of those scientists. "Captain, we're getting close to the station," said Ji-ho, the young officer at the communication desk. His voice was quiet and scared. "Any response from the station?" Dongwu asked. "Nothing, sir." Complete silence. The station grew larger on their screens. It should have been bright with lights, busy with ships coming and going. Instead, it hung in space like a dead thing, dark and cold. "Take us in slowly," Dongwu ordered. His chest felt tight. Something terrible had happened here. As they got closer, they could see the damage. Huge holes were burned through the station's walls. Pieces of metal floated in space around it. Some pieces had strange symbols carved into them, symbols that looked like alien writing. "Sir, I'm picking up some power readings from the main section," Ji-ho said. Maybe some people survived. Hope filled Dongwu's heart. Maybe So Young was alive. Maybe she was hiding somewhere, waiting for rescue. They docked with the station. Dongwu put on his spacesuit and gathered a team of soldiers. They would search every room until they found survivors. The station's air was gone. Their boots made no sound as they walked through the empty halls. Emergency lights flickered, casting strange shadows on the walls. The first bodies they found were in the main corridor. Scientists and workers all dead, but they weren't just killed. They had been hurt badly before they died, cut and burned in ways that served no purpose except to cause pain. "Dear God," whispered one of the soldiers. Dongwu felt sick. Who would do this to innocent people? These were scientists, not soldiers. They studied plants and animals. They helped sick people. They hurt no one. They moved deeper into the station. Every room told the same story: death and torture. The attackers had taken their time. They had enjoyed making people suffer. In the research labs, they found more symbols carved into the walls. The same alien writing they had seen on the metal pieces outside. Dongwu took pictures of everything. Someone would need to translate these symbols. "Captain," Ji-ho called over the radio, "I found something in the main computer room." Dongwu hurried to meet him. Ji-ho was standing in front of a large screen. The screen showed a message in human writing. "It's a recording, sir, from the attack. Show me." The screen lit up. Dongwu saw his sister So Young. She was hiding behind a desk holding 3 small children. The children were crying. So Young was trying to calm them down. "It's okay," she whispered to the children. "Help is coming. We just need to hide a little longer." Explosions echoed in the background. Screaming came from other parts of the station. So Young looked scared, but she was being brave for the children. Then the door exploded. Huge alien creatures walked into the room. They were tall and covered in thick, dark skin. Their faces looked like nightmares. They had too many teeth and eyes that glowed red. The creatures spoke in deep, harsh voices. They were laughing. One of them saw So Young and the children. It walked toward them slowly. It was enjoying their fear. "Please," So Young said. "They're just children. Don't hurt them." The creature grabbed her. The recording ended. Dongwu fell to his knees. His sister was dead. The children were dead. "Everyone was dead, sir. There's more," Ji-ho said softly. "The computer has a message. It's in alien language, but there's a translation." The screen changed. New words appeared. "To the humans of Earth, we are the Vorthak Empire. Your people on this station have paid the price for your weakness. You have 1 cycle of your sun to bring tribute to us, gold technology, and 1 million of your people to serve us. If you refuse, we will destroy your entire species. This is not a request. This is a command." Below the message was the same alien symbol they had found carved everywhere. The mark of the Vorthak. Dongwu stood up slowly. His sadness was changing into something else. Something hot and angry. "Captain, what are our orders?" asked one of the soldiers. Before Dongwu could answer, another ship appeared on their sensors. It was sleek and silver, not like any human ship. As it got closer, they could see it had diplomatic markings. "Sir, incoming message," Ji-ho said. "Put it through." A face appeared on the screen. It looked mostly human, but the eyes were too large and the skin had a blue tint. This was Taemin, the ambassador. Half human, half alien. "Captain Dongwu, I bring greetings from the Galactic Council. I am sorry for what happened here." "Sorry?" Dongwu's voice was hard. 12,000 people are dead. My sister is dead. And you're sorry? The council has sent me to help. We know who did this. The Vorthak Empire. They are very powerful. They have destroyed many worlds. Then why don't you stop them? Taemin looked uncomfortable. It's not that simple. The Vorthak are too strong. No one can fight them and win. But there is another way. What way? Give them what they want. Pay the tribute. Your species will survive. You will be allowed to live under their protection. Dongwu stared at the ambassador. The man was suggesting they give up. Hand over their people like cattle. And if we refuse, then your species will join the others that tried to fight. They are all extinct now. The screen went dark. Taemin's ship moved away, heading back to wherever he came from. Dongwu looked around at his men. They were all thinking the same thing. The galaxy expected humanity to bow down, to accept slavery rather than fight. Sir, what do we do? Jiho asked. Dongwu thought about So Young. She had believed that all species could live together in peace. She had spent her life trying to build bridges between humans and aliens, and they had killed her for it. We go home, he said finally. We tell Earth what happened here, and then we let our leaders decide what kind of species we want to be. But in his heart, he already knew. Humans didn't bow down to monsters. They never had. They never would. The Vorthak wanted tribute. They would get an answer, just not the one they expected. Ambassador Taemin walked through the halls of the Galactic Council building. His footsteps echoed in the huge corridors. The building was designed to make visitors feel small. Today, it was working. He carried a message from Earth in his bag. A simple folder that would probably doom an entire species. The council chamber was enormous. 47 different alien species sat in curved rows that rose up like a stadium. Each species had their own section with special air and lighting for their needs. At the center sat the speaker. Veltar was an old Zilani, one of Taemin's mother's people. The Zilani were known for being wise and peaceful. They had been the first species to submit to the Vorthak 300 years ago. Ambassador Taemin, Veltar's voice carried clearly through the chamber. You bring word from the humans. I do, honored speaker. Taemin moved to the center of the room. All eyes were on him. Some were curious. Others looked afraid. The Vorthak have made their demands known to your species. One cycle to provide tribute. What is humanity's answer? Taemin opened the folder. Inside was a single sheet of paper with 3 words written on it. He had read it 100 times during his journey here. Each time it made him feel sick with worry. The humans have asked for more time to consider. It was a lie. The real message was much shorter and much more dangerous. But Taemin couldn't say those words here. Not yet. Veltar's large eyes blinked slowly. Time, the Vorthak do not grant extensions. Surely the humans understand this. They are still processing what happened at Kepler Station. A sound rippled through the chamber. Some species were clicking or humming in their versions of nervous laughter. Others made sounds of pity. Perhaps, said Veltar, it would help if we explained to our young friends the reality of their situation. The lights dimmed. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a star map of the galaxy. Thousands of star systems glowed in different colors. The red systems belong to the Vorthak Empire, Veltar explained. 3,000 star systems, home to over 50 species who serve the Empire faithfully. Most of the galaxy was red. The yellow systems pay tribute to the Vorthak. They are allowed to govern themselves as long as they provide what is demanded. More than half of what remained was yellow. The blue systems are members of this council. We exist under Vorthak protection. Almost everything else was blue. The few green systems you see are too far away or too poor to interest the Vorthak. They are left alone. Only a tiny handful of green dots remained, and one small white dot. The white system is Earth, the last free system in this part of the galaxy. Silence filled the chamber. Representative Korth stood up from the Karani section. The Karani had once been great warriors. Now they served as soldiers in the Vorthak military. My people fought the Vorthak, Korth said. His voice was heavy with old pain. We had strong ships and brave hearts. We thought we could win. The hologram changed. It showed images of a beautiful blue-green world, cities that looked like crystal gardens, art and music that seemed to dance with light. This was our home world, Karanis Prime, home to 8 billion souls. The image changed again. Now the world was gray and empty, dead. It took the Vorthak 3 days to break our fleet. 1 more day to burn our world. Our choice was simple. Serve them or die. Korth sat down. His story was finished. Another representative stood. This one was from the Hesperians. They looked like tall, thin humans with silver skin. My people chose differently, she said. We surrendered immediately when the Vorthak came. We gave them everything they asked for. Our ships, our technology, our strongest children to serve in their armies. The hologram showed Hesperian worlds. They still had cities, still had life, but something was missing. The cities looked empty somehow, like they were just going through the motions of being alive. We survived. But what we became, is it still truly living? More representatives stood. Each told the same story with different details. The choice was always the same. Submit or die. And most who chose to submit found that they died a little bit each day anyway. Finally, Veltar spoke again. You see, young ambassador, why the council exists. We have learned that there are things worse than serving the Vorthak. Total extinction is one of them. Taman felt the weight of all those eyes on him. 47 species all looking at him with pity. They thought humans were just another young, stupid species about to make the same mistake others had made. The humans have asked me to inquire about military support, Taman said carefully. The chamber erupted, not in anger but in something worse. Laughter. Sad, bitter laughter from beings who had once been proud and free. Military support? Veltar's voice was gentle, like talking to a child. Against the Vorthak? Dear ambassador, perhaps you do not understand the scale of their power. The hologram changed again. It showed Vorthak warships. They were massive, dark things covered in weapons. Each one was bigger than Earth's largest city. The Vorthak Imperial fleet has over 10,000 ships like this. Each one can destroy a planet. And behind them are 1 million smaller ships crewed by species like the Korani who serve the Empire. Taman tried to speak, but Veltar continued. Even if every species in this chamber joined together, we could not defeat them. We learned this lesson long ago. The cost was measured in dead worlds. But surely, Taman said, there must be some way to resist. Some hope for freedom. The chamber fell silent. The word freedom seemed to hang in the air like a curse. Freedom is a luxury for species that can afford it, Veltar said finally. The humans cannot afford it. None of us can. Representative Aquati stood up from the water-filled tank where her species lived. Her voice came through translators that made it sound cold and mechanical. My people send our children to serve on Vorthak worlds. The Empire calls it cultural exchange. We know what it really is. But we do it anyway because the alternative is watching all our children die. She sat back down in her tank, disappearing beneath the dark water. This is the reality, Veltar said. The humans have courage. We admire courage. But courage without wisdom leads only to extinction. Taman reached into his bag. His hand touched the real message from Earth. The one he had not read aloud. The 3 words written on that paper would change everything. They would probably doom his father's species, but they would also reveal what humans truly were. The Council will vote, Veltar announced, all in favor of offering Earth full membership in exchange for their immediate surrender to Vorthak demands. Lights appeared above each species section. Green for yes, red for no. All 47 lights turned green. Unanimous, Veltar said. Ambassador, please tell your people that the Council offers them a place among us. All they need to do is accept reality. Taman stood up. He pulled out the real message from Earth. The paper felt heavy in his hands. Honored speaker, the humans have already given their answer. He read the 3 words aloud. No. Fuck. You. The chamber fell silent. Not the polite silence of consideration, but the shocked silence of people who had just heard something impossible. I'm sorry, Veltar said. Could you repeat that? No, fuck you, Taman said again. That is humanity's official response to the Vorthak demands. The silence stretched on. 47 species sat frozen, trying to understand what they had just heard. Young species had just declared war on the most powerful empire in the galaxy, and they had done it with 3 simple words that contained more defiance than the Council had heard in 1,000 years. Taman gathered his papers and walked toward the exit. Behind him, the silence finally broke, not into discussion or debate, but into something that sounded almost like weeping. The galaxy was about to watch another species choose extinction over slavery, and this time, they had a front row seat. Taemin's ship landed on Earth 3 weeks after the council meeting. He expected to find a world preparing for death. Instead, he found something that made no sense. Earth was getting ready for war. Admiral HFY met him at the spaceport. She was a small woman with gray hair and hard eyes. Behind her, Taemin could see hundreds of ships being built or modified. The air was full of the sound of construction. "Admiral, what is all this?" Taemin asked. "This is humanity's answer to the Vorthak," she said. "Would you like to see?" They drove through the capital city. Everywhere Taemin looked, he saw preparations for battle. Factories that used to make cars were now making weapons. Children were learning to use emergency equipment. Old people were training to fix damaged ships. "Admiral, forgive me, but this seems like madness. The Vorthak have 10,000 warships. Earth has maybe 50. HFY smiled. It was not a happy smile. "You're thinking like the Council, Ambassador. You're thinking about how to survive the Vorthak attack. And you're not? No. We're thinking about how to make them regret attacking us." They reached the military command center. Inside, Taemin saw hundreds of people working at computers and screens. The walls were covered with star maps and ship designs. Captain Dongwoo was there, standing in front of a large screen. He looked older than when Taemin had last seen him. "The death of his sister had changed him, Captain," HFY said. "Please explain Project Vengeance to our ambassador." Dongwoo turned to face them. His eyes were cold and focused. "We're not trying to win a traditional battle," he said. "We're trying to win a war." The screen behind him showed Earth's solar system. But it didn't look like any defensive plan Taemin had ever seen. "You see, Ambassador, the Vorthak Empire is built on fear. They attack a world, kill some people, and demand tribute. Most species give them what they want rather than see more death." "That's sensible," Taemin said. "It saves lives." "It saves some lives," Dongwoo agreed. "But it dooms entire civilizations to slavery. We're going to try something different." The screen changed. Now it showed ships launching from Earth, but they weren't warships. They were cargo ships, mining vessels, even passenger liners. "When the Vorthak come here, they'll find Earth defended by every human who can hold a weapon. Our fleet won't try to win. We'll try to hurt them as badly as possible before we die." "That's suicide," Taemin said. "Yes. But that's not the real plan." The screen changed again. Now it showed dozens of small ships leaving Earth in different directions. They were heading to star systems all across the galaxy. "While we're dying here, these ships will be visiting every world that pays tribute to the Vorthak. Every species that serves them. Every civilization that has learned to bow down." "What will they do there?" Admiral HFY answered. "They'll deliver a message." She led Taemin to another room where a woman named Nari was working at a computer. Nari was Earth's expert on alien psychology. "Show him," HFY said. Nari played a recording. On the screen, Taemin saw a human man speaking directly to the camera. Behind him were images from Kepler Station. The bodies. The torture. The carved symbols. "My name is Kyung-soo," the man said. "I used to mine asteroids for a living. Now I'm going to die fighting the Vorthak Empire." The images changed. Now they showed the Vorthak message demanding tribute from Earth. "The monsters who did this want us to kneel. They want us to give them our people, our resources, our freedom. We said no." More images. Earth preparing for war. Ordinary people learning to fight. "We know we're going to lose. The Vorthak are too strong, but we're going to make them pay for every human life with 10 of their own. We're going to hurt them so badly that they'll remember our names forever." The recording paused. Kyung-soo looked directly into the camera. "If you're watching this, it means our messengers reached your world. It means you're living under Vorthak rule. You've learned to accept their boot on your neck." His voice became harder. "We're here to tell you that you don't have to. When the Vorthak fleet comes back from destroying Earth, they'll be hurt, damaged, weak. That's when you strike." The recording showed detailed plans. How to sabotage Vorthak equipment. How to organize resistance cells. How to turn tribute shipments into weapons. "We can't free you," Kyung-soo said. "But we can give you the chance to free yourselves. All you have to do is remember what it means to stand up." The recording ended. Taemin stared at the blank screen. "You're trying to start a galaxy-wide rebellion. We're trying to give other species hope," Nari said. "The Vorthak Empire is strong because everyone believes it's unbeatable. But no empire lasts forever, and if this fails, if the other species don't rebel, then at least we'll die as humans," Dongwoo said. "Not as slaves." Admiral HFY led Taemin to the roof of the building. From here they could see the entire city. Ships filled the sky. Construction never stopped. Everyone was working toward the same goal. "Do you know what the other species don't understand about humans?" she asked. "What?" "We're not afraid of dying. We're afraid of living without dignity." A young man joined them on the roof. This was Minho, one of Earth's engineers. "Ambassador," he said, "I have something to show you." Minho led them to a computer terminal. On the screen was a list of star systems, hundreds of them. "These are all the worlds where we're sending our liberation packages. We've been studying Vorthak shipping routes, communication networks, supply lines. We know where they're vulnerable." "This is why you're not afraid," Taemin realized. "You think you can actually hurt them." "We know we can hurt them," Minho said. "The question is whether we can hurt them enough." He pulled up another screen. This one showed a detailed analysis of Vorthak military structure. They're not as strong as they pretend to be. Their empire is huge, but it's spread thin. They rule through fear, not through massive armies stationed everywhere. What does that mean? It means that if enough worlds rebel at the same time, the Vorthak won't have enough ships to stop them all. Taemin felt something he hadn't felt in years, something his alien mother's people had forgotten long ago. Hope. "When do you launch the messenger ships?" "They launched last week," Admiral Haywan said. "Right now, ships with human crews are traveling to every corner of the galaxy. In a few months, every species that serves the Vorthak will know that someone finally said no. And when do you expect the Vorthak to attack?" "Soon. Our intelligence suggests they're gathering a massive fleet. They want to make an example of us." Taemin looked out over the city again. Millions of people going about their daily lives knowing that death was coming. But they weren't hiding. They were preparing to meet it head-on. "Ambassador," Dongwu said, "there's something else you should know." "What?" "We're not doing this just for revenge. We're doing it for my sister. For all the innocents the Vorthak have killed. If we can break their empire, if we can free even one world from their rule, then So Young's death will have meaning." Taemin thought about the council. 47 species sitting in their chamber, telling themselves that submission was wisdom. They had chosen survival over freedom so long ago that they had forgotten what freedom felt like. "What do you want me to do?" he asked. "Go back to the council," Admiral Haywan said. "Tell them what you've seen here. Give them a chance to remember what it means to be free. And if they refuse, then they can watch from the sidelines while we show the galaxy that some things are worth dying for." As Taemin prepared to leave Earth, he carried with him more than just a message. He carried the memory of a species that had chosen to face extinction rather than accept slavery. The Vorthak had demanded tribute from humanity. Instead, they were about to receive a war that would shake the foundations of their empire. And across the galaxy, ships filled with human volunteers were carrying a simple message to every enslaved world. You don't have to kneel. 6 months later, the Vorthak tribute fleet arrived at Earth. Admiral Zenthak commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Deathbringer. He had destroyed 17 worlds in his career. Earth would be the 18th. The fleet was massive. 500 warships, including 50 of the giant planet killers. More than enough to reduce Earth to burning rock in a few hours. Zenthak expected to find a broken world ready to surrender. Instead, his sensors detected something impossible. Earth was shooting at them. "Admiral," his communications officer reported, "the humans are broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it through." Captain Dongwu's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, Zenthak could see the bridge of a human warship. It was smaller than a Vorthak scout ship, but every weapon was firing. "This is Captain Dongwu of the Earth Defense Fleet. You murdered my sister and 12,000 innocent people. Today we return the favor." The transmission cut off. Around Earth, the human fleet was engaging the Vorthak ships. It was like watching insects attack giants. The human ships were tiny compared to the Vorthak vessels, but there were hundreds of them, and they were all attacking with desperate fury. "Admiral," the tactical officer reported, "the humans are using ramming attacks. They're turning their ships into missiles." Zenthak watched in confusion as human ship after human ship threw itself against his fleet. They weren't trying to win. They were trying to do as much damage as possible before they died. The human defense was unlike anything the Vorthak had faced before. Most species tried to negotiate even as they were being conquered. These humans just kept fighting. "Sir, the flagship Golden Dawn is ramming our port battleship." On the screen, Zenthak watched a human heavy cruiser smash into one of his largest ships. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire. In the explosion, he caught a glimpse of the human captain still at his post. still fighting even as his ship died around him. What kind of madness is this? Senthak muttered. His answer came from another human transmission. This time it was Admiral Haywan broadcasting from Earth's surface. People of the galaxy, she said, you are watching humanity's final battle. We knew we couldn't win, but we chose to fight anyway. Behind her, Senthak could see Earth's cities burning from orbital bombardment. But the humans weren't surrendering. They were fighting in the streets, on the rooftops, even in the rubble of destroyed buildings. The Vorthak came here demanding tribute. We're giving them a different kind of tribute. Every human who dies today takes 10 of them with us. The transmission was being broadcast on frequencies that would reach every world in the galaxy. Billions of beings were watching Earth's final moments. We die free, Haywan continued. Can the slaves of the Vorthak Empire say the same? Senthak was about to order the transmission cut when something else happened. His tactical display started showing new contacts. Ships were appearing all over the galaxy. Not Vorthak ships, rebel ships. Admiral, we're receiving reports from across the Empire. Rebellions are breaking out on Karani Prime, Hesperian worlds, even the Aquati systems. Impossible. Sir, the rebels are using human tactics. Suicide attacks, sabotage, targeting our supply lines. They're all broadcasting the same message. The main screen changed. Now it showed a Karani warrior standing in the ruins of a Vorthak garrison. Behind him, other Karani were destroying Vorthak equipment with their bare hands. My name is Thork, the warrior said. My people have served the Vorthak for 300 years. Today we remember what it means to be free. The scene switched to a Hesperian shipyard where silver-skinned workers were turning their construction ships against Vorthak forces. The humans showed us that death with honor is better than life without it, a Hesperian leader announced. Today we choose honor. More scenes followed. Aquati emerging from their water cities to fight in the void of space. Species that hadn't fought in centuries picking up weapons. Worlds that had paid tribute for generations declaring independence. All of them broadcasting the same message. All of them fighting with the same desperate courage they had learned from watching humanity. How many worlds are in rebellion? Senthak demanded. Over 400, sir. And the number is growing. Senthak felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of death, but fear of defeat. The Vorthak Empire was built on the idea that they were unbeatable, but the humans had proven that wasn't true. Even worse, they had taught that lesson to the entire galaxy. Sir, urgent message from the homeworld. Emperor Vorthon appeared on the screen. The leader of the Vorthak Empire looked angry and afraid. Admiral, you will cease the attack on Earth immediately. Your Majesty, we are facing rebellions across the Empire. Our forces are stretched too thin. Every ship counts on, but the humans are already dead, Admiral. Their world is burning, but their message is spreading faster than we can contain it. Senthak looked at his tactical display. Half his fleet was gone, destroyed by humans who threw away their lives just to hurt the Empire. The other half was needed elsewhere to fight rebellions that were spreading like wildfire. We are withdrawing from this system, the Emperor commanded. Let Earth burn. We have bigger problems now. Back on Earth, Captain Dongwu's ship was dying. His bridge was filled with smoke and sparks. Half his crew was dead, but he was still broadcasting. This is our final transmission, he said. To every world watching this, we want you to remember something. The Vorthak told us they were unbeatable. They lied. His ship shuddered as another Vorthak weapon hit it. Systems were failing all around him. They told you that resistance was futile. They lied about that too. Look around the galaxy. Look at how many worlds are fighting today. Through the static, his sister's voice seemed to whisper to him. So Young had believed in peace. But sometimes, Dongwu realized, you had to fight a war to make peace possible. We're dying, he continued, but we're taking their empire with us. Every world that breaks free today owes its freedom to the people who died at Kepler Station. They didn't die for nothing. His ship exploded in a ball of fire. Captain Dongwu was gone, but his message continued to spread across the galaxy. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council watched in shocked silence as their carefully ordered universe collapsed around them. Ambassador Timon stood before them, no longer asking for help but delivering a warning. The age of the Vorthak Empire is ending, he said. The humans started something that can't be stopped. The question you need to ask yourselves is simple. When the fighting is over, do you want to be remembered as the ones who helped or the ones who watched? Speaker Veltar stared at the displays showing rebellions across the galaxy. Everything the Council had worked to preserve was falling apart. The stable order they had built on submission and fear was crumbling. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Nothing," Taemin replied. "The humans are dead. Earth is burning, but their sacrifice lit a fire that's spreading to every corner of the galaxy. You can join the rebellion, or you can sit here and watch freedom return to the stars." On the screens around them, the impossible was happening. The Vorthak Empire, which had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years, was fighting for its life, and it was losing, all because one small world had refused to kneel. The humans were gone, but their message lived on in every rebel who picked up a weapon, in every slave who remembered what it meant to be free. The galaxy was burning, but from the ashes of that fire, something new was being born. Something the Vorthak had tried to destroy but could never defeat. Hope. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, Ambassador Taemin walked into the Galactic Council chamber. But everything had changed. The chamber still held 47 species. But now they called themselves the Free Alliance. The scared, broken beings who had once sat here were gone. In their place were representatives who remembered what it meant to stand up. At the center, Speaker Veltar looked older but stronger. The Zilani people had been among the first to join the rebellion after Earth's sacrifice. They had rediscovered their courage by watching humans die for freedom. "Ambassador Taemin," Veltar said, "you bring word from Earth." "I do, honored speaker. Earth still existed, though barely. The planet was scarred and wounded from the Vorthak attack. Billions had died in the fighting. But the survivors had rebuilt and they had become something new. They were the moral center of a galaxy learning to be free again." Admiral Diane of the Free Fleet sends her report. Diane had been a communications officer during the Battle of Earth. Now she commanded a fleet made up of ships from dozens of worlds, all united under one banner, all fighting for the same cause. "The war continues," Taemin announced. But the tide has turned. The holographic display showed the galaxy as it was now. The solid red of the Vorthak Empire was broken into scattered pieces. Most of the galaxy glowed green now. Free worlds, independent systems, species that had remembered how to govern themselves. "The Karani have retaken their homeworld," Taemin continued. "They're now leading the assault on the Vorthak core systems." Representative Thork stood up from the Karani section. He wore the scars of 100 battles, but his eyes were bright with something that had been missing for 3 centuries. Pride. "My people have reclaimed our warrior heritage," he said. "We fight not for conquest, but for justice. Every Vorthak ship we destroy, every slave world we liberate. We do it in memory of the humans who showed us the way." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. "The Hesperians have mass-produced a new fleet design," Taemin continued. "Ships built specifically for liberation missions. They call them Freedom-class vessels." The Hesperian representative, now calling herself Admiral Silana, nodded. "Our shipyards work around the clock. Every ship we build carries the same message the humans taught us. Some things are worth fighting for. Even the Aquati have joined the fight," Taemin said with wonder in his voice. It was still hard to believe. The peaceful water dwellers had been the most passive of all the tributary species. But they had developed new weapons that could work in space. Their children, who had once been sent as slaves to Vorthak worlds, now served as volunteer crews on liberation ships. "We learned something from the humans," the Aquati representative spoke through her translator. "Sometimes you must fight for peace. Sometimes you must die for life. Our children are no longer property. They are warriors." The most shocking change was in the species that had never fought before. Beings whose nature was so peaceful that they couldn't even understand violence had somehow found the strength to resist. "The Vorthak Empire still exists," Taemin admitted. "But it's no longer an empire. It's a collection of frightened tyrants hiding in their core systems, fighting each other for what little power remains." Captain Jungi had taken over Captain Dongwu's old position. He was young, but he carried the memory of the heroes who had died at Earth. "The humans taught us something the Vorthak never understood," he said. "Fear is a choice. For 1,000 years we chose to be afraid. Now we choose to be brave." Speaker Veltar gestured toward the chamber's main display. It showed something that would have been impossible a year ago. A Vorthak delegation waiting outside the chamber, not to demand tribute, to offer it. The Vorthak have requested an audience, Veltar announced. They wish to negotiate terms for their surrender. Silence filled the chamber. Not the scared silence of the old council, but the satisfied silence of justice about to be served. What terms do they offer? Asked Thork Taman, read from his report. Complete withdrawal from all occupied systems. Reparations to every species they enslaved. Dismantling of their military fleet. And exile to a single system under Alliance supervision. In exchange for? Their lives. More silence. Every being in the chamber was thinking the same thing. The monsters who had terrorized the galaxy for 1,000 years were begging for mercy. There is one more thing, Taman said. They want to know if the Alliance will accept the same terms they once offered to humanity. The chamber erupted. Not in laughter this time, but in anger. The Vorthak were asking to become tributaries, to pay for protection instead of ruling through fear. Speaker Veltar raised his hand for silence. When the chamber was quiet, he spoke in a voice that carried to every corner of the galaxy. The Free Alliance does not bargain with killers. We eliminate them. The Vorthak delegation was sent away. There would be no negotiations. No treaties. No mercy for those who had shown none. The war would continue until every Vorthak world was free. Until every slave was liberated. Until the galaxy was clean of their evil. But, Veltar continued, any Vorthak who lays down their weapons and surrenders unconditionally will be treated according to the laws of war. They will be judged for their crimes, but they will not be slaughtered. It was more mercy than the Vorthak had ever shown, more than they deserved. But it was what separated the Alliance from the Empire. The difference between justice and revenge. Taman walked to the memorial wall that had been built in the chamber. It showed the names of every human who had died at Kepler Station and in the Battle of Earth. At the top, in letters of gold, was written, So Young Park, scientist, dreamer, bridge builder. Below her name was the inscription that had become the motto of the Free Alliance. She wanted to build bridges between species. We built them over the ashes of tyranny. As the session ended, Taemin thought about how much had changed. A year ago, this chamber had been filled with broken beings who had convinced themselves that slavery was wisdom. Now it was filled with free beings who had remembered that some things were worth dying for. The humans were mostly gone. Earth was wounded perhaps forever, but their sacrifice had done something impossible. It had given an entire galaxy back its soul. In the end, that was the human gift to the universe. Not advanced technology or superior weapons, but something much more powerful. The refusal to accept that evil must be tolerated for peace to exist. The simple, stubborn insistence that some things were worth fighting for, even if the fight seemed hopeless. The belief that it was better to die on your feet than live on your knees. Outside the chamber, news arrived that the last Vorthak stronghold had fallen. The war was over. The galaxy was free. Taman looked up at the stars through the chamber's great window. Somewhere out there on a wounded world called Earth, the survivors were rebuilding. They were teaching their children about the price of freedom and the cost of peace. And they were probably preparing for the next time someone would try to take that freedom away, because that was what humans did. They stood guard. They refused to yield. They never forgot that eternal vigilance was the price of liberty. The galaxy was safe now. But it was safe because one small species had been willing to pay the ultimate price to keep it that way. The council fell silent, not in fear, but in gratitude. The humans had kept their promise. They didn't bargain with killers. They eliminated them, and in doing so, they had saved everyone.